Okay, let's jump right into it. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something that feels fundamentally human, but which our society often seems to push aside: intuition.
Now, we've got some really interesting source material to work with here. Excerpts from Intuition Training by Frederick Dodson.
Mm,
It offers a perspective that, well, it really challenges the way we usually think about being smart or making decisions.
absolutely. The mission in this deep dive is, to unpack the core ideas presented in this material. We're going to explore exactly what intuition is, how it stands apart from conventional thinking, look at some genuinely eyebrow-raising claims and stories from the source,
Yes, some are quite something.
and see what insights it might offer for you right now in your own life.
It's about taking a look at the idea that maybe, just maybe, constantly analyzing everything isn't always the best path, and that there's a powerful inner knowing already available to us.
So, where does the source begin? Right out of the gate, it makes a pretty bold statement that hit me. It argues that equating thinking with intelligence, which we do constantly, is actually a mistake. In fact, it suggests many of our problems stem from too much thinking, which gets in the way of something it calls innate knowing.
That's right. And this innate knowing is precisely what the source defines as intuition. It's described as that inherent knowledge you already possess, that first flash of insight, the very split second before thinking starts.
Okay, so the key characteristic here is that it's pre-thought.
Right.
It happens before the mental analysis kicks in.
Exactly.
And the source makes this strong contrast with what it calls knowledge, suggesting that relying too heavily on accumulated knowledge can act like a veil.
Right, a veil, actually blocking this innate knowing.
So the part of us focused on the external world, the ego self, can get easily confused by desires, fears, all that stuff.
Yeah, all the beliefs we've absorbed, it's perpetually trying to figure things out. But according to the source, there's a higher aspect of ourselves that already has the overview, that already knows.
This is where the source gets really relatable, giving examples you can instantly picture, like just knowing whether a business deal is right the moment you read the email,
Yeah, or having a hunch about a stock investment.
or even instantly sensing if a book is good for you just by picking it up. The text claims that this innate knowing is already there within you for things like this.
And the big payoff highlighted in the material is that intuition is a great time saver. It suggests you can grasp complex subjects in seconds that might otherwise take years of study.
Wow.
The author gives examples like making successful investment decisions without any formal market education, relying purely on intuition.
That's pretty countercultural in a world that values deep research and analysis. And the source tackles that common skeptical thought. Intuition isn't always accurate. It cannot be relied upon.
Yes. And its response is quite definitive, almost provocative.
What does it say?
If it is inaccurate, then it's not intuition.
Huh. So if it's wrong, it wasn't the real deal.
Yes, it sets a very high bar for what true intuition is. If what you experienced led you astray, the source argues it wasn't genuine intuition in the first place.
Okay, so if intuition is supposed to be this instant, accurate flash, why does it feel so elusive sometimes? Why don't we always hear it clearly?
Well, the source gives us a vivid picture. It's elusive because it's spontaneous, and critically, it's gone the moment thinking starts. It gets drowned out by the constant chatter of the analyzing mind. The analogy it uses is powerful. Trying to hear the soft voice of intuition with the turbulent mind is like trying to hear a pin drop at a rock concert.
That makes so much sense. The mental noise is just overwhelming.
Precisely. So practices aimed at reducing that noise, like meditation or seeking a no-mind state, are suggested as ways to quiet the conceptual thought process.
Quieting the chatter.
Yeah, this allows things to become apparent and obvious, as the source puts it, without needing to filter everything through labels and analysis.
It seems the source isn't saying thinking is inherently bad, but that it's perhaps overrated.
Exactly. Overrated.
And much of the thinking we do is presented as being heavily indoctrinated, programmed into us from childhood.
Yes, through parents, schooling, mass media, absorbing both positive and negative thought patterns from these external sources. The core argument here is that the more time you spend in states of less or no mind, the more you find yourself simply just knowing.
Reducing your reliance on this potentially distorted knowledge gathered from the outside world.
Right.
That leads to a really important question, because people often use terms like gut feeling or hunch pretty loosely. How does the source distinguish true intuition from other kinds of inner signals?
That's crucial as the source makes clear distinctions. First, intuition versus instinct. Instinct, in this context, is seen as a lower consciousness function shared with animals, rooted in the physical body, those intense gut feelings.
Ah, the gut feelings. Lower chakras, it says.
Yeah, often associated with lower energy centers or chakras. Intuition, however, originates from the higher self connected to a chakra above the head. Many people, the source notes, say instinct when what they're experiencing is actually intuition.
Okay, so instinct is more primal, physical. Intuition is a higher connection. What about psychic abilities? That also feels like a form of knowing.
Good question. Psychic abilities like clairvoyance or the sixth sense are linked to the third eye chakra in the forehead. While there can be overlap or difficulty differentiating, the source suggests intuition often feels like it comes out of the blue.
This pops in.
Yeah, and is associated with lighter, more joyful insights. Psychic data, often appearing as thought flashes, can sometimes be connected to darker realities. Though the source does give a positive example of a psychic flash about a student being pregnant, it also interestingly mentions that police apparently use psychics more often for specific types of investigations, implying a different domain or focus.
Interesting nuance there. And then there's something I know I've experienced, projection.
Projection. The source defines this as a biased reaction based on your own emotions and beliefs. It's heavily influenced by what's already preoccupying your mind.
Like seeing what you expect to see.
Exactly. The examples given are stark. Reading lots about serial killers and then starting to see potential serial killers everywhere because your mind is primed.
Right, because that's what's on your mind.
Or focusing on sexual attraction and misinterpreting innocent interactions as flirtation.
So projection is about seeing your own internal landscape reflected outwards, coloring your perception of reality.
Precisely. It's filtered through your existing fears, desires, or beliefs. Intuition, conversely, is a hunch or insight about something that wasn't already actively on your mind.
Okay, so it's new information, not recycled stuff.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
The source offers this fascinating scale of perception accuracy, from least to most accurate, projection first.
Lowest accuracy.
Then knowledge, then experience, and finally at the top, calm mind, which equals intuition. The claim is that a truly calm mind, operating from intuition, provides the clearest, most accurate information.
Okay, now we get to the part that really brings this to life. The source includes some absolutely incredible, almost unbelievable, real-life stories that illustrate this kind of intuitive guidance or, well, what feels like intervention from a higher source.
Yeah, these aren't just abstract concepts.
No, these are tangible experiences presented in the text.
These anecdotes are quite something. There's the story of the prophetic dream, a nightmare about a BMW, and a feeling of impending death directly saved the author's life.
How?
He was prevented from crossing a street moments before a crash, and the nightmare was specifically linked to a casting call for a BMW commercial he was considering.
Wow. So the dream warned him off.
The source interprets this as a voice or higher self aspect actively guiding him away from danger.
That is wild. The way the dream connected to the real-world event and the TWA Flight 800 story is just as dramatic, maybe more so given the tragedy.
Oh, definitely. An incredibly strong, seemingly irrational intuitive push led someone to change their ticket on that doomed flight, ultimately saving their lives.
Irrational, you say.
The source highlights the author's own extreme illogical behavior driven by this inner certainty just to get the ticket changed. Remember, she describes essentially throwing a fit and screaming at airline staff.
No way.
Because the intuitive urge was so overwhelming and persistent. It really drives home how intuition, in this context, can be incredibly powerful, even if it doesn't make sense to the rational mind at the time.
Then there are other powerful examples.
Yeah.
The Invisible Rescue, where the author felt pulled from a strong river current by an unseen force after asking for help.
Right. And the sudden relocation story. An intense urge to drive 80 miles back home just to move a laptop.
Just the laptop.
Just the laptop. And it prevented its destruction when a tree fell on the house during a storm shortly after.
Unbelievable timing.
And the text includes more subtle yet still striking stories. The synchronicities in the birds of a feather flock together story.
What happened there?
Hotel names, finding feathers, a dead bird appearing right as travel plans were changing in a long-distance relationship. All interconnected signs. And the mysterious visitor from beyond, witnessed by both a dying child and the author in a hospital room.
There's even a story about intuitively locating people in a massive city just by following an inner sense or energy attraction. These are certainly not everyday occurrences for most people.
True, these are presented as dramatic instances of higher guidance, but the source also folds in simpler daily life examples, reinforcing that this isn't just about big events.
Right, like that instant feeling about a business deal we mentioned earlier.
That's it, or the author's personal decision to keep a specific hotel room, number 160.
Why 160?
Because the digits added up to 7, a number that had recurred for him, even though a conventionally better balcony room was available.
So he chose based on the feeling.
He chose based on feeling it was a higher pattern, keeping him in a positive flow, prioritizing intuition over conventional logic.
So it's about trusting those quieter nudges as well, not just the dramatic life-saving ones. The source seems to argue that in complex situations with information overload, intuition becomes even more important.
Exactly. The text states, "Anywhere there is too much information and too much complexity, I disregard it and instead rely on intuition." The idea is that the rational mind gets overwhelmed, but intuition can cut through the noise.
This connects to the broader perspective. The source encourages seeing life as a whole movie, not to focus on singular snapshots.
This is a crucial concept. The author's decision to pursue writing books despite initial financial difficulty is a prime example. The snapshot view was the immediate discomfort, the lack of a proper job.
But the long view.
But following the intuitive urge led to long-term success the whole movie. It contrasts snapshot people who chase immediate gratification, like eating junk food, with movie people who consider the sustainable long-term picture guided by deeper knowing.
So intuition helps align you with your long-term path, your path of the soul or path of the heart.
Yes, by encouraging you to choose options that shine. These are the things that feel right, joyful, or genuinely interesting to you, rather than what others tell you you should do based on external logic or expectations.
What if nothing shines? Or too many things do?
The source acknowledges those common hesitations. It gently argues there's always something slightly more interesting or relieving, even if it's subtle.
And following these things that shine is presented as building a pearl necklace of energy.
Yeah, each choice leading you closer to your authentic self.
Inversely, the source warns about the consequences of ignoring intuition. It starts as a subtle feeling that something is off.
But if consistently overridden, it can escalate to feeling worse and potentially even manifesting as bad things happening. Misemotions like uneasiness are framed as useful early warnings.
Okay, given all this, how does the source suggest you actually cultivate this intuition and live with more awareness and trust? What are the practical takeaways?
It starts with mind calming. The source suggests moving beyond just formal meditation sessions to being present and aware in daily life.
It's moment to moment.
Yeah, even amidst difficult situations. It makes the interesting point that part of cultivating calmness is accepting that you won't always be calm.
It's about presence, not perfection. That makes sense.
Right. Practical techniques mentioned include taking a deep breath, consciously choosing to let go of knowledge when it's overwhelming.
Just drop it.
For a moment, yeah, and putting your awareness on empty spaces.
Empty spaces. How does that work? Like the space in a room.
Examples given are placing awareness on the space around physical or emotional pain to help diffuse it, or opening your awareness to the space around someone you're talking to, rather than intensely focusing on their face or words to reduce social awkwardness.
Ah, interesting. Broadening the focus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The idea is that awareness outside rigid focus allows for different information to come in. The source also links this to trying too hard in a job or life in general. It suggests that excessive effort can actually limit awareness.
So finding a balance between focused effort and relaxed awareness seems key.
And it makes a really striking claim. Awareness trumps knowledge.
Whoa. Okay, explain that.
Knowledge is a tool, but awareness is the underlying faculty needed to acquire, sort, prioritize, and apply that knowledge effectively. Intuitive awareness, according to the source, knows things even before they could be learned through conventional knowledge acquisition.
That's a complete paradigm shift for many people.
Yeah.
What about trust and confidence? Where does that fit in?
The source argues that external reality is not a reliable basis for true confidence. Real confidence is internal,
Built from within.
built by trusting yourself. And how do you build that trust? Through integrity, consistently doing what you say you will do.
Keeping your word to yourself.
Yes. This teaches your subconscious mind to trust your conscious intentions, which builds your power as a creator in your own life. Conversely, internal broken trust makes you a weak creator.
So integrity isn't just about external ethics. It's about building self-trust.
Powerful. Exactly. And then there's appreciation. The source describes this as a powerful energy that benefits your endeavors and overcomes negative states like resentment or burnout.
How does appreciation work?
It's about actively finding things, people, or situations to say yes to, rather than focusing on condemnation or what's wrong. Whatever you give your focus attention to, whether positive yes or negative no, you gravitate towards. Radiating appreciation is seen as lighting up your own energy field.
That ties directly into the idea of regard versus neglect.
Yes. Applying care, regard, and conscious cultivation, which the source equates with love, to anything. Your relationships, skills, possessions, projects, health, etc.
Pretty much anything.
Actively reverses the natural deterioration caused by neglect. It's less about financial investment and more about conscious attention and care. The example of two houses, one cared for, one neglected, illustrates this vividly.
And this framework leads to a very direct approach to dissatisfaction that the source advocates. Love it or leave it, accept it or heal it.
It's a no-nonsense perspective. If you're unhappy with a situation, you either choose to fully embrace and love it as it is.
Even if it's difficult.
Yeah, find a way to love it. Or you stop investing your time, attention, and energy into it and move on. Leave it. For long-standing issues, like a physical disability that hasn't healed despite efforts, the source suggests the path to living fully is often acceptance.
Not resignation, though.
No, acceptance. Accepting the current reality so you can live fully despite the condition, rather than being consumed by fighting it.
The source also briefly mentions other simple practices that seem designed to shift focus and energy. Savoring little things, random acts of kindness.
The smiling experiment, the appreciation walk. These feel like practical ways to apply the principles of awareness and appreciation. They seem aimed at intentionally cultivating higher frequency states in daily life.
Now let's talk about navigating the noise of the external world, specifically information like the news. The source has a pretty strong take on news media manipulation.
Oh yes, it outlines several layers. Filtering, where news focuses on negativity and drama because that sells.
If it bleeds, it leads.
Pretty much. Then distortion, where journalists might add bias or report without necessary context. And even deliberate fabrication, sometimes creating narratives of chaos.
Wow.
The overall effect, the source argues, is a biased, contextless view that generates false impressions of widespread chaos and can lead to desensitization or apathy in the audience.
So the news isn't just a window onto the world, it's actively shaping the world mind's perception.
According to this material, yes. And the suggested antidote is awareness. Reading multiple sources, avoiding over-reliance on just one, and understanding that much news is world mind processing garbage.
Woof. Strong words.
That doesn't have to impact your personal reality. The source suggests you primarily experience what you attract or radiate.
This brings up paranoia and common sense. The source acknowledges things like government surveillance exist. That's knowledge, simply factual information.
Right. But it distinguishes this from paranoia. Paranoia takes that factual knowledge and mixes it with intense fear, obsession, and doomsaying.
Spiraling negativity.
Exactly. This leads to paralysis and often exaggerated or ineffective responses. Common sense acknowledges potential issues while remaining grounded and relatively fearless. The source even makes the claim that your beliefs about being harmed, whether by allergies or spying, can significantly shape your actual reality.
So lack of fear is presented as a key form of protection.
Yes, alongside taking reasonable, non-fear-driven precautions. The perspective offered is that a truly centered, fearless being isn't easily subject to harm unless they hold the fear and belief that they can be.
Let's look at how the source approaches conflict and criticism. It notes that we have inner contradictory voices, and that the logical mind tends to see things in black and white binary terms, right, wrong.
While a more conscious perspective sees a wider range of options, and it argues that constantly seeking outside rules to resolve conflict is a way of avoiding personal responsibility.
So how should we approach it?
The source suggests moving beyond reactive, fight-flight, or even just rational approaches to conflict resolution towards a higher self approach, rooted in love, compassion, and objective observation rather than immediate reaction. It recommends waiting until you're calm to address issues.
And forgiveness. Does that play a role?
Forgiveness, as presented in the source, doesn't mean approving of harmful actions, but forgiving the human being who committed them, recognizing their potential suffering or limited perspective. This can be done internally, even while taking external action, like pursuing legal steps.
Like separating the action from the person.
Kind of. Instant forgiveness is suggested by trying to see the other person's underlying hurt or limited condition.
The powerful internal driver of needing to be right also comes up.
Yeah, yes. Trying too hard to be right or needing to make others wrong is viewed as the ego's survival mechanism kicking in. The source suggests that if you were genuinely right, you wouldn't need to constantly assert it.
Good point.
It highlights the value of being able to genuinely consider the possibility that you might be completely and totally wrong, as this opens the space for learning, humility, and receptiveness, which is particularly useful in resolving conflicts.
And finally, the source touches briefly on narcissism.
Yes, framing it as an exaggerated self-preoccupation, the ego self being so absorbed in itself that it misses reality. This is seen as making a person weak and stupid, not in terms of intellectual capacity, but in missing deeper truths and connections.
How does one overcome that, according to the source?
Overcoming it involves recognizing it in yourself, intentionally putting yourself in others' shoes, and doing things for others purely for their benefit, without seeking personal gain. The source suggests true specialness comes from the soul, not the ego.
Wow, that's quite the roadmap for navigating not just external information, but also internal psychological landscapes. Let's loop back to the source of this innate knowing, the higher self. The source describes it as your soul.
That's right. It's depicted as having a much broader overview, spanning multiple lives or dimensions, and viewing things with inherent tranquility, compassion, and joy.
And life itself is seen as a letter your higher self is writing to you.
Yeah, constantly communicating through subtle signs, synchronicities, hunches, and dreams. The more you pay attention, the more you notice this communication.
So how do you tune in better? The source suggests exercises.
Yes, exercises to consciously connect with this higher aspect. Journaling signs involves actively looking for and noting down what you perceive as meaningful coincidences or communications from a higher source.
Just paying attention and writing it down.
Exactly. There's also the idea of raising frequency, which means consciously adopting higher viewpoints, like imagining yourself as a wise female mentor in 500 years, to better align with and perceive the soul's lower frequency communication, which is always present.
Interesting perspective shift. What else?
And soul retrieval, which involves asking introspective questions about simple, joyful actions. When did you last genuinely smile, laugh, sing, dance, or tell stories? These questions are seen as keys to accessing aspects of your soul's agenda.
Connecting back to simple joys. I like that. Plus, communicating with future self.
Yeah, shifting your perspective to imagine a future version of yourself and then looking back at your present or past self from that vantage point, gaining new insights.
Finding your life purpose is also explored.
With techniques like getting into a higher state before reflecting, identifying a job you genuinely do for free but then charging for it, or writing about your perceived mission until it resonates deeply, potentially to the point of tears.
And if you can find one.
If you can't seem to find a pre-existing purpose, the source suggests simply creating one that genuinely inspires you.
And finally, the source highlights the transformative power of being fearless.
It suggests that intentionally doing fearless acts cultivates it as a habit, helping you transcend fear itself. The ability to accept reality as it is, without resistance or denial, is presented as the key to being able to shape it positively.
Because you can't guide something you're running from.
You can't effectively navigate or guide something you are running from or denying, embracing what is rather than fearing it.
We've really gone deep here. Wow.
Yeah.
We've journeyed from understanding intuition as that precise, instantaneous knowing, distinct from our often noisy programmed thinking.
Right, and those incredible, sometimes jaw-dropping real-life stories that illustrate this guidance.
Yeah, definitely jaw-dropping. To practical insights on cultivating inner calm, building self-trust, discerning external noise.
And consciously connecting with that deeper, higher aspect of ourselves.
The perspective presented in this source is that living by intuition, truly listening to that innate knowing, is living life without filters, experiencing it as inherently very enjoyable.
It's a call to view your life as a whole movie, like we talked about, to cultivate internal trust, and to release the grip of fear and rigid, externally indoctrinated beliefs.
So as you reflect on all this, consider this provocative thought presented by the source. If, as this material argues, the most accurate perception of reality comes from a calm mind operating from intuition, how much of your current understanding of reality and the decisions you make are truly originating from this clear, innate knowing?
That's the real question, isn't it?
And how much is being filtered, distorted, or shaped by deeply ingrained programming and fear? What might unfold in your life if you chose to tune in more intently to that first flash of insight the next time it appears?